I'm Jaya Maria Basha. I'm the first reporter of Chapter 9 entitled The RIZAL Grand Tour in Europe with VIOLA. So here's our objective that we need to be discussed. First, to know where the tour started. The second one is to know those players in Europe that RIZAL and VIOLA had visited. The third one is to know what or where is the happiest moment of the tour. And the fourth one is to know who are those people that RIZAL and VIOLA had met during the tour, and lastly, to know where the place is that RIZAL and VIOLA had visited. So, I'm the one to discuss the first and the second objectives, and the rest will be Miss Aligato. But before that, let me introduce first who is Dr. Maximo Viola. Just a quick background for her. So Dr. Maximo Viola Y. Cesan, October 17, 1857 to September 3, 1933 was a propagandist, writer, revolutionary leader, and doctor from Bulacan, Philippines. He is known as the best friend of Jose Rizal in Europe. They worked together, they visited museum, art gallery, restaurant, and stay in hotels to work there in Europe. So, how did RIZAL and VIOLA become friends? So, VIOLA, a supporter of propaganda movement, met RIZAL and became his friend while he was finishing his degree from the University of Barcelona in 1886. It was while traveling with RIZAL in Europe that he learned RIZAL needed money to publish the No Limitang Hire. Maximo Viola is the savior of No Limitang Hire. Maximo Viola will constantly be remembered as the man who saved the No Limitang Hire for prosperity. More than that, he served the Filipino people by supporting Dr. Jose Rizal and his advocacy for nationalism, which inspired the Philippines Revolution. So, why is that Maximo Viola was the savior of the No Limitang Hire? So, because Maximo Viola, who gave him the necessary funds to publish the novel, which is No Limitang Hire, was published. Viola loaned Rizal money for publishing and for Rizal's living expenses. So, Rizal received a telegram from Dr. Maximo Viola, who was coming to Berlin. When he arrived in Berlin, shortly before Christmas Day of 1887, he was shocked to find Rizal living in poverty and deplorably sickly due to the lack of proper nourishment. So, he is also loaned Rizal some cash money for living expenses. Viola happily celebrated the Christmas of 1986 in Berlin. He deleted certain passages in the manuscript, including a whole chapter of Elias and Salome on February 21, 1887. Viola financed the printing of the novel by giving Rizal 300 pesos. So Viola sought Rizal and offered to help get the novel published. He gave Rizal 300 pesos, which financed the printing of 2,000 copies of the novel, which is the No Limitang Hire. In acknowledgement of Viola's help, Rizal gave him the galley proofs of the novel as well as the pen he had used to write the manuscript. After the publication of No Limitang Hire, Rizal planned to visit the important places in Europe, and Dr. Maximo Viola agreed to be his traveling companion. He was carrying a pencil sketch of Rizal, which the latter had previously sent him so that he could identify his Filipino friend. He warmly received Rizal and Viola. The tour begins at dawn at May 11 in 1887. So Rizal and Viola, two brown-skinned doctors on a roaming spree, left in Berlin by train. So spring was the ideal season for travel. This destination was in this Rhine, one of the best cities in Germany that Rizal and Viola had visited. Is Rizal and Viola tarried for some time in this Rhine. They visit coincidence with the regional floral exposition. They visit Dr. Adolfo B. Meyer, who was overjoyed to see them. In the Museum of Art, Rizal was deeply impressed by painting of Prometheus Bound. They also meet Dr. Jagur and heard a plan about Lilith merits in order to see Blue Meteorite. He advised to write a Blue Meteorite because the old professor might be shocked of their visit. And that's all my report, and Miss Aligato will be continuing the rest of the discussion.
Hi everyone, I am Hannah Jolene Aligato and I am going to continue the report in chapter 9. So let's continue. First meeting with Blumentritt. At 1:30 p.m. of May 13, 1887, the train with Rizal and Viola aboard arrived at the railroad station of Leitmeritz, Bohemia. Professor Blumentritt, who received their wire, was at the station. He was carrying a pencil sketch of Rizal, which the latter had previously sent him so that he could identify his Filipino friend. He warmly received Rizal and Viola. Beautiful memories of Leitmeritz. Rizal had beautiful memories of his visit to Leitmeritz. He enjoyed the warm hospitality of the Blumentritt family. The professor's wife, Rosa, was a good cook, and she prepared special Austrian dishes which Rizal liked very much. His children were Dolores, Conrad, and Fritz. On May 16 at 9:45 a.m., Rizal and Viola left Leitmeritz by train. Prague. After Leitmeritz, Rizal and Viola visited the historic place of Prague. They carried letters of recommendation from Blumentritt to Dr. Wilcom, professor of natural history in the University of Prague. The good professor and his charming wife and daughters welcomed them and showed them the city's historic spots. According to Viola, nothing important happened in this city. Vienna. On May 20, Rizal and Viola arrived in the beautiful place of Vienna, capital of Austria-Hungary. Famous in song and story, the city fascinated Rizal because of its beautiful buildings, religious images, haunting waltzes, and majestic charm. Vienna was truly the queen of the Danube. We have the Danubian voyage to Linz. On May 24, Rizal and Viola left Vienna on a riverboat to see the beautiful sights of the Danube River. As they traveled along the famous river, Rizal observed Kili River, the barges loaded with products, the flowers and plants growing along the river banks, the boats with families living on them, and the quaint villages on the riverside. From Linz to Rainfall. The river voyage ended in Linz. They traveled overland to Salzburg and from there to Munich, where they sojourned for a short time to savor the famous Munich beer, reputed to be the best in Germany. Now they cross the frontier to Switzerland. From Rainfall, they crossed the frontier to Schaffhausen, Switzerland. They stayed in this city from June 2 to 3, 1887. They continued their tour to Basel, Bern, and Lausanne, Geneva. After sightseeing in Lausanne, Rizal and Viola left on a little boat crossing the foggy Lemon Lake to Geneva. The Swiss city is one of the most beautiful cities in Europe, visited by world tourists every year. The people of Geneva were linguists speaking French, German, and Italian. Rizal conversed with them in these three languages, so Rizal is multilingual. Next, Rizal Resan's exhibition of Igorots in 1887 Madrid Exposition. While Rizal, accompanied by Doctor Viola, was happily touring Europe, an exposition of the Philippines was held in Madrid, Spain. Upon reaching Geneva, Switzerland, he received sad news from his friends in Madrid of the deplorable conditions of the primitive eaglerots who were exhibited in this exposition, some of whom died and whose scanty clothing and crude weapons were objects of mockery and laughter by the Spanish people and press. So, lastly, the place that Rizal visited is in Italy. So, from Geneva, Rizal and Viola went to Italy. He visited Turin, Milan, Venice, and Florence. On June 27, 1887, he reached Rome, the Eternal City and also called the City of the Caesars. So, those were all the places that Rizal and Viola visited together. And let me leave you with this quote by Rizal. Travel is caprice in childhood, a passion in youth, a necessity in manhood, and an elegy in old age. Thank you for watching, guys. Bye.